World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, and the Philadelphia Eagles are still Super Bowl champions. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. Chet, NFL free agency is absolute chaos with money being spent like they're printing it. Spring training is moving along with the Phillies getting ready to go. We've only got a few games left. We're past the halfway mark. The Flyers have lost 6 of their last 7. They're not a good team to watch. These final 17 games can't go fast enough. And then there are the Sixers. Well, never mind. We're not talking about them. They're an embarrassment, but we still have plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
I think it's safe to say, Bill, there won't be any postseason action at the Wells Fargo Center this spring. Man, what a disgrace that is. Both tenants looking quite dreadful for sure. But, Bill, Happy New Year in terms of the NFL, the new year. You know? Oh,
and it's crazy. It's crazy. We're going to get into a lot of that with our guest, and then we'll get into it a little bit after that. There are people and money being thrown around all over the place, starting quarterbacks getting traded. Pro Bowlers being traded, released. So it's just been chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, we've got a great guest tonight, and the man that wears so many hats, Chet, we can't list them all. So we'll just say Philadelphia radio broadcast legend Glen Macnow will be making a return visit to Philly Press Box Radio.
Well, let's see. In a nutshell, sports talk radio legend, newspaper reporter, author, actor, and, oh yeah, beer connoisseur. Let's go, Bill.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's welcome the Prof, Glen Macnow, back to Philly Press Box Radio. Glen, welcome back.
Hey, guys. Always nice to be with you. Appreciate it.
Glen, good to see you for sure. Hey, great to get you back on the show and to interrupt your retirement, but what the heck? First question. While the Eagles were on their way to a second Super Bowl title in 8 seasons, you were sitting home most Sundays last fall. Rather than hosting the Birds pregame show on 94 WIP that I think you did for the last 17 years before that. How did it feel to, sit home in your PJs or whatever and not have to deal with traffic and rowdy fans down at the link before each home game?
The rowdy fans I missed. The traffic I did not miss. I love the rowdy fans. It was very odd and disconcerting and disorienting, but what I really enjoyed this year was being able to be a fan and just be a fan. Understand, I loved that gig. I loved hosting the pregame show with Ike and Hugh and all of the guys over the years and Ray, and being there with the fans and the Eagles alum and the pep band. And it was great, and it was lively, and it was so on. And I loved it, and I loved being at the games, right? But this year, it was fascinating for me. For the first time, I was at WIP for 31 years. Before that, I wrote for the Inquirer for 7. To just watch a game and not have to think, okay, what am I going to say about it afterward? What am I going to say that's different from what other people are going to say? Who do I have to think about lining up for a guest? What is it? Do I have to tweet during this game? Not having to tweet during games. Boy, that was fun. Just being able to watch a game and not think about what happens next was actually a lot of fun for me.
Cool.
Well, Glen, as you sat back as a fan and you got to watch what transpired across this Eagles season and through the playoffs, did you see this coming?
Well, certainly not through the bye week, right? I mean, after 4 weeks, it looked like it was going to be a repeat of the year before that. I started to believe, I'm trying to think, they had that series of games against really good teams. Maybe it was the Pittsburgh game. It was one of those games when they just started rolling and playing contenders. The knock on the Eagles early was, who are they beating? but then they were really beating good teams and beating them weak. The Rams, they beat the Rams really convincingly.
And the Ravens.
And the Ravens, yeah, that was another one. And I think it was that stretch that made me think, boy, they're built for a postseason run. Jalen Hurts turned it around from his early season turnovers and got it together. You felt the team was more cohesive. The defense under the defensive coordinator just blossomed. I think as we rolled into December, I thought it was a real possibility.
Mm-hmm. Well, Glenn, NFL free agency officially did begin this week, and after previously
fun part's over, eh?
Yeah, they re-signed Saquon Barkley and Zach Bond. The Eagles, though, in recent days have done almost nothing. They've lost a whole bunch of guys who were important contributors to the Super Bowl winning team. What do you make of all this? They're losing something like 4,000 snaps on defense from all of these guys that are going elsewhere. So what is the plan?
Well, I think the plan is that you have young guys who are going to move up and play. Like Kaylee Ringo is a guy who's going to play. Yeah. Brown is going to, those guys have to now move up and prove themselves. And that's the natural order of things in the NFL. I have nothing against the contracts that the guys got, and, Josh Sweat getting that money, good for him. I also think there's a pattern in the NFL that if you're a really good team, you get a guy, you develop him, you get his best years, he overperforms. Josh Sweat in the Super Bowl overperformed. Milton Williams in the Super Bowl overperformed against a bad chief offensive line. If somebody else wants to sign them for too much money, you let them go. Again, it's not a knock on them. It's just the reality of the free agent market is it's where guys go to get rich. The Eagles are going to have to pay Davis or Jordan Davis. They're going to have to pay Jalen Carter. They're going to have to pay these guys coming up soon. You got to prioritize who you want to keep. It certainly looks scary from today. As you said, they lost 4,000 snaps, but it's the way the league works, and you have to believe your young guys are going to step up.
Glenn, is there a cap to this money at some point? Like Milton Williams got paid more money from New England than Tom Brady made in New England. Is there an end to this, or every year is it just make it to your free agent year and bank it?
Well, there's not an end to it. And I think one of the reasons there's not an end to it is, and this is, it's turning the conversation, but this is something that really I don't like, is I think what we're going to see over the next few years with the NFL is more and more streaming networks come into play. Mm-hmm. Netflix become a huge partner, Amazon Prime become a huge partner, and pay gazillions of dollars. The NFL, the players make too much money, but everybody makes too much money. The owners make too much money. And the money, I know ticket prices are outrageous. I've seen that sticker shock. But most of the money comes from TV. And as long as it's, last year, I think it was last year, close. My numbers are close. Something like 78 of the top 100 watched things on TV, programs on TV the prior year were, let me say this again. In 2024, I believe between 75 and 80 of the most watched shows on TV were NFL games. Another 10 were college games. That's what people tune in to see. That's appointment TV. That's the stuff that you don't record and watch later. It's the stuff you watch live. So it's extremely valuable. More money will go into it. Thus, the players will just keep getting money.
Hey, Glenn, with a second Super Bowl appearance in 3 years, including now a title, he was the MVP in the game. He played great in the loss too. Jalen Hurts, is he now the best quarterback in Eagles franchise history? It's one of those sports talk radio debate topics,
Yeah. No. The same way that when people used to say Nick Foles was the best quarterback in Eagles history, I would roll my eyes. It's a great body of work over the years that he has started. But I think if you look at McNabb or Randall and the number of seasons they put in, I still have to give him the edge. I'll say he's on the arc to become the greatest Eagles quarterback of all time.
And to follow up on that, I'm not going to call him the greatest, but what's your evaluation now of Nick Sirianni? He's the second winningest active coach, I think, over the last handful of years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You look at, I think it was he and George Seifert were battling for like the best record an NFL coach had over his first 3 years or something, and now it's his. I sometimes don't get it because I sometimes think he acts like a chucklehead. But his players really love him and respect him. There were times he could have lost the team and he didn't. I can't criticize a guy who's done that well. I don't always get it, but I can't argue with the results.
Well, Glenn, let's talk a little Phillies. They have increased their win total in each of the last 3 regular seasons, but they got sent home earlier each fall in the postseason. The Phils didn't make any major splash moves over the winter. So how do you feel about this club weeks before the start of the 2025 season? And are you a Rob Thompson guy?
I don't think Rob Thompson, I don't think he particularly helps him or hurts him. I don't think Rob Thompson is the issue with the Phillies. There have been things he's done in the postseason that I still don't understand why he took Wheeler out of that game. And I'm never going to forgive him for that one, right? I mean, that's the one we're always going to all cite.
Yep.
I think he's sometimes been a little panicky in the postseason, but I don't think them losing in the postseason was his fault. The bats went cold again. The bats looked so great in the opening series, and then they just died. They died this year against the Mets. So I feel good about them, but I also feel better about the Dodgers and pretty good about the Mets and kind of good about the Braves. So I think the Phillies are one of 4 teams in the National League, and the Diamondbacks. There's a lot of clutter at the top in the National League, and they're one of the teams. If you can tell me that Schwarber and Castellanos and Real Muto are going to hit in October, then I'll absolutely believe in them.
Well, we were talking about guys moving up and being considered greatest players or some of the greatest players. Where's Bryce Harper fit in Philly lore? Glenn, is he, he's been really good. Has he been really great?
Oh, I think he's been really great. So it's funny you say that because I can actually call this up. He has had 6 years with the Phillies now, and he's got 152 home runs, which is not at the top of the list, a 924 OPS, which is pretty damn good. He gets on base. He's one of the guys who will hit when it matters more than most. If I'm making a list of top 10 Phillies of all time, he doesn't make it. It certainly makes my top 20 of all time. So here who he is not yet ready to take his place among the Rollins, Howard, Hamels, who am I leaving out? Utley, excuse me. Pardon me. Yeah. That quartet, right? Which the day I can't wait to be there on the day they get their numbers retired and go into the Wall of Fame together, right? That's the first 4 will do it. So those are the immortals from that era. Before that, I think you got to go back to the Schmidt-Carlton era. I'm not putting Bobby Abreu ahead of Bryce Harper. Who am I leaving out in that from the 90s into the early 2000s? Am I leaving anybody out?
Probably not anybody, right? Schilling was probably the best of that whole group.
Yeah,
right?
But Schilling was great, but wasn't here as many years.
Right.
So I think that he is, of the last 40 years, he's one of the best 6'8" players in the franchise.
Glenn, I'm in a pretty good mood tonight, so we're not going to talk Sixers because that would just dampen the mood significantly. But here's something that will put a lot of people in a good mood. Some of the greatest moments in Philadelphia sports history. Last September, I was fortunate enough to get a ticket for a show at the Ardmore Music Hall called The Greatest Moments in Philly Sports History, starring, well, let's see, these guys.
There you go.
These guys. And there's a picture actually from that night. Ray Didinger, Glen Macnow, and Joe Conklin. You guys talking about a dozen or so of the greatest moments in Philly sports history, as the title would imply. And the good news is you're going to do it again next month in Phoenixville. So please tell our viewers what to expect. And, might there be one addition to that show since last September or December?
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, we all got together and said, you know what? We may have to adjust this. We may have to edit a little bit. So this is a show. Ray and I, for years, thank you for putting that up on the screen. It is April 16th at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville. And you can go on their website and get tickets, or if you follow me on Twitter and Facebook, I post it occasionally. Ray and I, for years, have done a show off a book that we wrote, The Ultimate Book of Sports Movies, where we show highlights of the greatest sports movies ever. And we decided, let's do something new. Let's branch out. And we wrote a script for the 10 greatest moments in Philadelphia sports history. And we ran through it a couple times with ourselves. And actually, we got a director, Anthony Sanfilippo, to kind of give us some advice, which was very helpful. He said, more interplay between you guys. Talk about your own experiences with it, not just what happened on the field. And that was really helpful to us. And we did it, and we incorporated some of the great short film clips of the moments and photos and so on and stories. And we were missing one thing, and we decided that because we couldn't have the voices of the actual people there, and we also wanted to inject somebody funnier than Ray and I, we got Joe Conklin to join the team. And so what we do is a countdown of what we consider the 10 greatest moments in Philadelphia sports history. And you're looking at one of them right there. I am not going to say where that one finished, but I can tell you it's closer to the top than the bottom. And it's all 4 pro teams. There's a little Villanova in there as well. We have some other sidebars, some of the honorable mentions and some great performers. And we basically start at number 10 and tell the story of each and have a blast doing it and count down to 1. And we've had great response from audiences. We sold out the other places we played. I know at Colonial, it seats about 625 people, and there's only about 50 seats left. So I would advise people to get them soon. And what's really fun about it is it gives people a chance to cheer and get up together and do Eagles chants and sing the fight song. And it really is like being at a game because the crowd gets so involved with it. It's really fun. By the way, with this one, we added one thing. We're doing one of our Conshohocken Brewing Company restaurants. The Rec Room is directly across the street from the theater. So we're doing a pregame VIP dinner with Ray and Joe and I across the street. So you pay a little extra and you get to go sling cheeseburgers with us and talk more sports.
Very good. So,
so
Glenn,
what would you? I'll ask you guys. Yeah. What would be the top 4 or 5 in order? I'm not going to divulge ours. I know, Chet, but I guess, Bill, I'll ask you, if you were ranking them, how would you do them?
I'm going to say right off the top of my head, I'll go number 1 first. I'm going with the first Super Bowl win over New England. Okay. Because the first is always the best, and plus it was such a close game. So I'll go with that. I probably would have to go back to 1980 and the Phillies being right up there with that one for being the first. I wasn't old enough, and I was going to ask you how far back you were going with this, but I'll have to say the Chamberlain 100-point game's got to be somewhere up around the top without having seen that game. So that would be up there. The Flyers winning the Stanley Cup has to be right there. And it's easy to say Dr. J and that Sixers team, but I don't know. I kind of like that Villanova National Championship buzzer beater up around the top as well.
Well, I'll only say that you're pretty astute, but I'll reveal no more.
All right. It's a great show because I was there. I enjoyed it. Everybody loved it. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
now, how many times are you going to play it again after this one? Or
we have another one scheduled for October. I can't really say where it is yet until after this, but we have one scheduled for October. I think it's the kind of thing that we like to do like 3 or 4 times a year.
Awesome. Well, Glenn, before we wrap up, we got to talk a little beer. Tonight, I'm drinking a Lancaster Brewing Winter Warmer because, it's still winter. Technically.
It's a fine beer.
It got the approval. Glenn gave it the nod.
Oh, yeah. I like Lancaster Brewing. They do good stuff.
Yeah, they do. As we discussed before the show went live tonight, I watch What's Brewing every single week. I DVR it and make sure to catch it. The great Kate Scott on there this week. But I got to tell you, one of my favorite episodes was when you had Jody Mack on this year, as you seem to every year. And I think I have a little clip. You had a, you know what it is.
Oh,
You had a beer memorabilia guy on there showing off.
Let me just say, this guy has a collection of beer cans and bottles 7,500 of them in his house.
Yeah.
His wife came in and mostly just shook her head, lining every wall in his house. Some old and rare collector beer bottles and cans.
And here's about 25 seconds of that episode.
Jody, you and I were looking at this. You'd never seen this, baby.
I've seen Michelob just like...
Oh my God.
There's no price you can put on this.
Oh my God. Live TV. Jody, take it. It didn't break. Thank
God it didn't break.
I only have one.
And I've never spilled a beer in my life.
Oh my
Sure,
God.
beer I'm once brewing.
That was great.
Yeah. So that guy, man, he turned white. That was absolutely one of his favorites that he brought in. It's irreplaceable. Let the record reflect. If you watch that in slow motion, and I have, the fumble was not on the handoff. The fumble was on the ball carrier.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, since you didn't ask, I'm drinking where are we? Here we are. I'm drinking a Ring the Bell.
Of course.
Because in anticipation of the Phillies season, this beer last year was the #1 selling craft beer at Phillies games.
Bill, you had a few of those last November.
I had a few of them when we went and saw you, Glenn, over at what was the name of that place?
Puddler's Kitchen and Tap.
Puddler's Kitchen.
Yeah.
That was I enjoyed them. Very
Nice.
good.
Appreciate it.
So anything we should know about the brewery business and summer brews and
well, we got first of all, I literally have this next to me, and I didn't do it for this purpose, but we are now putting out a variety 4-pack of our 4 best sellers in 12-ounce cans. Great to take to the beach, the shore in the summer. The other thing we're doing that I think is really fun is we've got a partnership now with Bassett's Ice Cream. And so we're putting out a series of beers with them. We did an IPA with vanilla ice cream, and we have coming up, I think about 3 or 4 weeks from now, we're doing a strawberry ice cream stout, which I had the rare joy of being able to taste as it was being formulated. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
One
Sounds
final
good.
thing for me, Glenn.
Yeah.
Where can people check out what you have going on, your beer show, and any more information on any of your other shows you have going?
Sure. I'm not in any plays right now. I just finished the season for me, so I'm hopefully going to audition for some plays in the fall, and we'll see. Hopefully get into some. I'm actually on a movie that you can watch that is streaming now on most streaming services with Nick Nolte. I have a small role, about 70 minutes into the 90-minute movie of playing a Philadelphia cop, and I got about 6 lines. So name of that movie is The Golden Voice. The Golden Voice. You can watch it most anywhere. We have a few episodes left of What's Brewing, which usually premieres Saturday night around 10:30 after Sixers or Flyers games on NBC Sports Philly. They repeat it a bunch during the week. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I'm trying to convince myself I'm retired. Hanging around with my dad. I'm getting to do that, which is nice. Hanging around with my dear old dad.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, Glenn, we appreciate you coming by as always. Let's do it again. Good luck with your show. I want to get to see it myself.
Thank you, guys. My pleasure. Always nice to see you.
All
Thanks,
right,
Glenn.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Hey, Chet, as people probably know, but hey, Philly Press Box Radio is now part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. It's a network set up by our pal, Phil Stiefel, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, and so is ours. Yep. You can find Philly Press Box Radio there in addition to our own YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. Again, it's the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be. Hey, Chet, St. Patrick's Day is coming. So what's going on at the Irish Rover Station House?
And they call her the Irish Rover. Hey!
Mid-March is a huge time of year for any good Irish bar and restaurant, and for a fantastic establishment like the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, that is certainly the case. Let's bring on the Rovers' Christina Gaskill to tell us what's happening in connection with St. Paddy's Day.
We are in full swing over here. So we've got everything you could ask for. Corned beef and cabbage, ham and cabbage platters, all of our favorites like our Guinness stew and our shepherd's pie. Come Friday, we are in really full swing, gearing up for the big day on Monday. We'll have live music Friday night. Saturday all day and evening, Sunday as well. And then, of course, all day on Monday. We'll be here in our green celebrating our favorite holiday of the year.
Oh, wow. Always a good time at the Irish Rover Station House on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. Chris, enjoy all of the festivities and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
It's me, Jackie Bam from 93.3 WMMR, Philly Press Box Radio. Chet, Bill, what are you doing? It's me, Jackie Bam. Hey, Chet, Bill, I love you. All the best. Bye.
All right. Well, hey, Chet, we're going to do something different tonight. Usually we have a second guest or we're doing some other things, but we're not going to talk Sixers, I don't think. We're probably going to talk only a little Flyers if we have to, but we're going to open the lines here. We're going to answer questions or talk about what you want to talk about, people. And Chet, I'm going to start you off, and this one is for you because it popped up here before anybody even knew we were doing this. So here you go. What's an IPA and why should I drink it from somebody you might know?
That would be a nephew of mine, Chris. IPAs are not my favorite. Now, if Glenn were on, Glenn would rave about IPAs because those are Glenn's favorites. IPAs happen to stand for India Pale Ales, and they're typically a little bitter, a little more hoppy than regular lagers or wheat beers or whatever. A lot of people like that. Glenn is a big fan, as I said, of IPAs. I am not. I don't like that bitter taste in my mouth and the aftertaste that comes with it. So, yeah, that's what an IPA is. It's just a more bitter beer, usually. Some places have more than half of their menu as IPAs. There's a place in Philly that I'm not going to name. The last time I was there, they had 23 beers on tap. 18 or 19 of them were IPAs. I was not happy. So
there you go.
There you go.
Well, hey, while we wait for some people to send us something to talk about, let's talk about some free agency. As we said, absolute chaos, quarterbacks traded, stars traded. Eagles, as you mentioned, have lost 4,000 snaps on defense. Howie Roseman said the key was to be patient. So here we are, needing to be patient. We have gotten what? We traded Kenny Pickett for a quarterback and got a draft pick. We got Dorian Thompson Robinson. That played for Chip Kelly at UCLA. Kenyon Green is with us. Not much really going. We still have Becton in the fold
for now.
So that's one good sign.
All right. Well, patience will clearly be a requirement if you are an Eagles fan. At least, right now we're seeing all of these moves, and as you noted, there've been a flurry of them, with the Birds losing several of their key guys, especially on the defensive side. I mentioned this earlier. One radio guy said that when you add up all the Eagles' departures on the defensive side, talking Sweat, Williams, Rogers, Burks, CJGJ, and Slay, it's guys who played a total of about 4,000 defensive snaps this past season. That is a lot of snaps that are going to have to be made up by somebody going forward, whether it means, Jordan Davis actually playing more than 13 or 14 snaps a game. Some of the other guys stepping up. Maybe Brandon Graham comes back. Who knows? Somebody's got to take those snaps. And by the way, if you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube, be sure to pass along your comments and questions about this. But check this out. Eagles do have 8 draft picks this year. They will have probably a dozen next year because they're going to get some compensatory picks for losing some of those big names, Williams and Sweat and Rogers. So I think they're going to have a 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th next year for losing those guys. So, they're going to try to build, I guess, through the draft over the next couple of years.
All right, let's jump over Joe Stinger. How many wins for the Phillies this year, Chet? Go ahead. I got a number. You got a number. Go.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Well, I'm not going to give you a number right now because we are going to do our Phillies season preview in 2 weeks on the 27th. We'll have a special Phillies related guest and we will make our predictions. I can tell you right now, the over under is 90.5. Keep in mind the Phillies were 95 win team last year, and they were on pace for 117 at one point before falling off the last couple of months. So 90.5 sounds like a low number. I'm not going to tell you what my prediction is, but you can guess it's probably going to be over.
All right, Bob Moser's up. Will the Flyers make the playoffs? I think
Hell
there's
no.
not much chance of that happening, Bob. I think that one has about played itself out at this point. And
Yeah,
we'll certainly talk more about that one.
5
Robbie?
or 6 losses in a row. Ugh.
Robbie's got what do you think about Max Kepler?
I like Max. He's got a little power. He's had some issues staying healthy every year, but he looks really good out there. I would love to have a left fielder that you could put in the lineup every day against lefties and righties. And that's, still to be determined. But so far, I like what I've seen from Max Kepler.
Yep. Denny Malloy trying to take a Penn State jab at the basketball team. You notice he doesn't mention the wrestling team. So we just give him his 2 seconds of glory. You're out of here.
Yeah, when the Terps get knocked out in the second round, I'll be, nudging Malloy.
Yep. Brian Brown, will Torts be back next season?
Great question. Bill, take it.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. And not that I really have much against John Tortorella. Sometimes I'm not sure how he handles things, but I don't see them getting better. We were told last year they were ahead of the curve. This year they have not gotten better, and I don't see how Tortorella stays. I just don't see it.
Well, we were going to talk some more Flyers later on, but I'll tell you right now, Chris Pronger has been going off lately on Torts, really, coming down hard on him for just not being very communicative with his players. He'll bench guys and not really tell them exactly why. Pronger notes that he did it last year with Couturier, benched him, sat him for a few games, never really explained exactly why he was doing it. And the same with Mishkov this year. We think it's because he doesn't play enough defense, when he's out there, but Torts doesn't seem to be explaining it well to him or to the media. Now, he doesn't have any right to have to explain it, an obligation to explain it to the media, but he certainly should be telling the players, why they're being benched or seeing their time cut on the ice.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously we don't know what happens behind closed doors. But, Joe Farabee is gone. Morgan Frost is gone. Those guys were high picks, first round picks, second round picks, and now they're out of the system. And, you're giving up on guys like that. It's a setback for you.
Yeah, for sure. So, we like Briere, we like Jonesy, but they got to take advantage of the June draft this year because I think they have a lot of draft picks. So they better pick wisely.
Yeah, they better, and they better get guys that can get here soon. I guess that's the other thing. I'm just not sure that is there enough talent there. You watch some of these games. The other thing, Chet, they're not exciting to watch. They have Mitchkoff and Travis Konechny. He played really well for a while. Then he kind of went the other way. He's hit a wall. But they're just not really fun to watch. There's not that guy out there who you think, this guy's going to do something special, unless it's Mitchkoff, and heck, he's only just turned 19 years old.
No, he's 20 now, Bill. 20.
Oh, I thought he just turned 19.
Yeah,
either way, he's young.
Yes, he is.
All right. So I wanted to hit you up with, as far as the NFL free agency, what about the teams trading quarterbacks, or letting them go? Pittsburgh was an interesting team because they had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Fields goes to the Jets. Russell Wilson's on a free agent tour out there looking for a place to land.
He's
Aaron
going to talk
Rodgers,
to Cleveland, I heard, the next couple of days.
Cleveland and the Giants. He's visiting the Giants. Aaron Rodgers gets let go, and they're eating like $40 million of cap space to let him go.
He should just hang it up.
Geno Smith gets traded. Just kind of chaos to me that you're trading starting quarterbacks. They're hard to get.
Yeah, they really are. But I mean, while there's an upper tier of quarterbacks, there's also, all these kind of Midland guys, and that's where Russell Wilson is now. So he's just looking for work. Aaron Rodgers, I guess he still wants to play another season or two. I can't imagine any team really thinking they're going to win something with Aaron Rodgers, at his age, and he's a little brittle now that he's older. So, boy, I don't know.
Well,
I would just like to see him retire.
I think one thing that you see with all that's going on too is I think and I've been saying this for weeks and weeks, that this draft class is not real strong, and especially at the quarterback position, but overall not real strong. And I think you're seeing people trying to fill gaps through free agency and getting some experienced people and not going to depend on this rookie class.
Yeah. Getting back to the Eagles and their draft picks, we were talking last week about what they should target. And I'm with you, Bill. I think tight end is definitely a way to go because there's the whole Dallas Goedert situation. There's, some speculation that he wanted his contract extended or a raise or whatever. I guess he's got 1 year left. And they don't want to pay him a big deal because he's had trouble staying healthy. He's 30, 31 now. So that's going to be an interesting situation. Do they trade him? And if so, in the past, when they let Selleck retire after the Super Bowl win in 2017-18, they had Zach Ertz behind him. When Ertz got a little older, they had Goddard behind him. Now they have Goddard and nobody really ready to step in. So that's a situation that we're going to have to keep an eye on. They're not going to get Tyler Warren, I don't think, unless they, trade up significantly in the draft. But from what I heard, it is a pretty deep draft for tight ends. So, maybe they stay put and grab a tight end at 32.
Yeah, that's possible. They do have that pile of picks that they can always package up. Supposedly, they want a fourth rounder for Goddard and can't get it.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, I would surely thought he'd be worth a fourth rounder.
Yeah, you would think.
But if he's a fourth rounder and he's going to cost you $80 million, if you're the other team or whatever numbers they're throwing around, that certainly could have a lot to do with it as well. In the meantime, you still have him under contract for another year, but you got to get ready to make a move. Yeah,
he had a good postseason for sure. So, if he's still here for another year at whatever salary he's at, somewhere in the $10 to $14 million range, I think, fine. But he wants to get extended or get a pay raise or whatever, and the Eagles don't seem willing to do that.
Yeah, well, nobody's getting pay cuts now. Look at the money they're throwing around. They're paying Slay $10 million for 1 year in Pittsburgh. Guys making 50, 60, 80 million dollars. It's just crazy. So, hey, while we're waiting on some more questions, let's take a break and talk about what's going on with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Sounds like a plan, Bill. Let's see. Well, this Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for some 35 years now. Known best for their tailgate parties, Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events, parties, you name it. Of course, Cav hosts tailgates before all Eagles games outside the link, and there will be various tailgates outside Citizens Bank Park this spring and summer, including one before the home opener on March 31st. Right now, as we speak, Cavs is down in Florida, Clearwater. Cav working with Philly Sports Trips for a pair of 5 or 6 day Philly spring training tips. There's one happening right now with WMMR's Preston and Steve crew there Thursday and Friday mornings. And then there's a second trip that'll be coming up in the week ahead with Charlie Manuel, Jason Worth, and Larry Boa on hand to, talk to all the fans. So that's pretty cool. All the info at phillysportstrips.com on those Phillies trips. And check out Cavs' website, Cavs, phillytailgates.com. That's actually what it is, phillytailgates.com, for info on upcoming trips and or other events closer to home. If you do have questions, by the way, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go.
Very good. Hey, Chet, our man Joe Bonder, we talked about last week. Joe had a little procedure. He's home. He's doing good. And I just wanted to remind him that Penn State is the Big Ten wrestling champions again, just in case Joe might have missed that during his stay.
Yes. So glad to hear Joe's doing well. I communicated with him the other day. He said he is, feeling better. He'll start rehab a little bit further down the road once he's able to do that, but seems to be in good spirits, and that's great.
All right. Hey, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it.
Oh, no.
Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey's got to go. He crossed the line when he blamed the Sixers fans, the angry Sixers fans, for being mad because this team is not playing well. Come on, man.
Yeah. It's really bad what's happening down there in Sixerland. Gotta see if I can find some graphics that I wanted to post. Bill, you talked about it the other day, the lineup that they put out there on Monday night. It's probably a similar situation this evening. Just a bunch of dreck. Let's see if I can find it here. It was a bunch of guys who just were not, around at the start of the season. Quentin Grimes looking, like an all-star all of a sudden, scoring 35 points a game or whatever. But we know he's not really that good. And it looks like it disappeared, unfortunately. But it's pretty sad what's happening with the Sixers. It was a team that we thought was going to win, over 50 games and compete maybe for the Eastern Conference title, or at least one of the, second or third or fourth seeds. And here they are, not even close to making the playoffs. If you look at the standings right now, there it is. The draft lottery simulator. This is from the website tankathon.com. That's exactly what it's called. And right now the Sixers are in the 7th from the bottom spot, and that's not good. They, with Brooklyn and Toronto, are all separated by a half game. But if the Sixers end up, with the lottery balls deeming them to be in the 7th spot, they would have to give up that pick to Oklahoma City. So they want the more lottery balls so they can get, a third or a fourth or a fifth or a sixth pick. And that way they get to keep the pick. So with Toronto also in that mix, you got a situation where the Raptors and Sixers are playing tonight, and the Raptors have all of a sudden a rash of semi-injuries and guys being sat out tonight. Sixers not playing Maxey, not playing Paul George. It's two teams that the front office at least wants to see lose the game tonight. What a joke. And I feel badly for the fans that are going.
So let's go here. Let's go with Joe. Is this how you see it, Chet?
It's not as good as it used to be. That's for sure. I mean, we've talked about it. I'm not as down on it as everybody else is. The 3-point shots don't kill me like they do a lot of people. But yeah, I know it's not as good as it used to be. And here's that lineup from the other night. Look at these guys. If you take off that banner down the bottom, you can see the names. But you're talking, Lonnie Walker IV, Justin Edwards, Yabusele, Grimes, who's had, 4 30-point games since they signed him, but he's a journeyman, really, and Jared Butler, who they just picked up a few weeks ago. Who are these guys? Who are these
guys, and why do we have to pay money to watch them? Is at least when they played these guys the other night, they were on the road. I just can't imagine spending the kind of money it takes to go to a Sixers game and see that. And then you're supposed to be happy because you're angry. The general manager thinks there's something wrong with you because you're angry for wasting your money.
Yeah.
Daryl Morey, out of here. Got to go.
Yeah, he should go. I kind of feel badly for Nick Nurse being put in this spot. I do think Nurse is a good coach, but, when you're given this kind of talent and the injuries and bogus injuries to deal with, I wouldn't blame him if he just walked away from the job.
Yeah. Hey, I have another one for you, Chet. What do you think about our Penn State Nittany Lions selling out their stadium rights for $50 million to a home builder? So we're going to now be called, West Shore Home Field at Beaver Stadium for $50 million.
Yeah. Now, nobody's going to call it that.
You?
Except the announcers, will be obligated to say that at least once or twice. And I'm sure there'll be a big, billboard there somewhere, but nobody's going to call it that. Everybody's going to call it Beaver Stadium still. I'm not a fan of that. I know that you're not a fan of it. So go ahead, Bill.
No, I just, you know, that there's probably nobody that loves college football as much as I do.
Oh, I know.
And everything that is going on with it, I hate. I just hate it. And the NIL was not meant to be buy the best player. It's turned into that. Now we're selling stadium rights. Next thing what's going to happen, and I actually read an article about this. I might have shared this with you a few months back, about people buying the college program team and be under an ownership. Like, you know, what's his name? Jeffrey Lurie could buy Penn State football.
Wow.
You know, it's just going so far in the wrong direction. And it's really sad for me, because it was one of the things I enjoyed most of all of it is college football.
Yeah, I know. Nothing's quite the same as it used to be, Bill.
No.
Hey, one thing I just thought of this. How upset were you by the fact that Furman lost its conference title game on Monday? I know you like Furman get in.
They had a big upset to get to the title game, though. And, you know, that's why it's March Madness. Things happen. And, you know, Delaware was playing, they were like 13-18, and they were playing last night in a final. So that's what March Madness is all about.
I was going to quiz you. What is Furman's team nickname?
The Paladins.
And what is a paladin?
It's a horse.
Yeah, it's like a Trojan horse, or the warrior on the horse, or something like that.
Yeah. Come on, man.
I figured you'd know your Furman history. Come on.
Although there's no relation to anybody like that.
March Madness begins in earnest, I guess, this weekend with Selection Sunday, right?
Well, right. This is tournament weekend, right? Coming up for most of the tournaments. And for those that have not watched a lot of college basketball, that like to watch March Madness, check out that Cooper Flagg kid at Duke. He's the deal. He's the number one pick coming out, assuming he comes out. He's like 18 years old, 6'9", averaging 20 points a game. He's almost like a high school kid, but he's really good, really good.
Should we do more Flyers talk or what? Do we have any more questions?
I don't think. Well, let's throw up here what Denny says. Is it Joe Paterno Stadium?
There you go. I know you'd be fine with that,
Joe Paterno Field at Beaver Stadium.
Yeah.
They do it at Florida State. It's Bobby Bowden Field at Doak Campbell Stadium, Steve Spurrier Stadium, or field at Ben Hill Griffith Stadium. Nick Saban already has the field named after him in Alabama. He was coaching about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't think Penn State would do that simply because of the whole Sandusky thing and the way that ended. You know, there's still some mixed feelings about that on the part of a lot of people. So I'm going to stay out of that.
All right. So here's one for you. Wrong one. Where'd Joe go? I had Joe on here. Will St. Joe get an at-large?
I don't think so. They're not.
I don't think so either. They got beat by LaSalle the other night in a game that they needed to win.
Yeah, I think we're looking at another year with no Philly teams in the tournament.
Yeah, and is that Kyle Neptune on the hot seat there at Villanova? They're not playing very well.
Yeah, they pulled off a few upsets this year, but otherwise they've been very inconsistent. Lost a lot of games that they shouldn't have.
Yep, absolutely. Flyers, you want to talk some more Flyers?
Yeah, why not?
Go ahead, lay something on me.
Well, I'm concerned about the goaltending situation for one thing. I do have the stats right here. Sam Ersson looks really good sometimes. Other times, he looks very average. Same with the backups. Fedotov looks like he's got some potential, but look at his record: 5-11-3, goals against above 3. That ain't cutting it. Now, sure, some of that's due to the defense. So I don't know. Like you said, maybe there's just not a lot of talent there. But speaking of the defense, you had Cam York get sat down the other day, in addition to Mishkov over the weekend. And again, that's Torts not really telling us much as far as what's going on. And I'm wondering if Torts survives. I think they seem to like him, however, but boy, I don't know.
Well, management does. I wonder if the players do. I guess I'm
sure the players don't love Torts.
So let's throw this out here. I guess he's available. Is Carter Hart in your future if you're a Flyer?
Well, I don't know what the status is there. He's not cleared yet. Is there a trial coming up like next year, or what's going on with that?
I don't know. I read something just a couple weeks ago where it said it was talking about him and possibly going to Nashville. I don't know that he's available to come back yet, but if he were, you okay with it?
I don't know. I think I would rather wait till that whole issue was resolved one way or the other before I bring him back to play.
Well, even if it is resolved and he's found innocent, you good to bring him back?
Yeah, absolutely. If he's found innocent, sure.
Okay. Well, some people might not be just because he was involved in a situation like that.
Well, no, but like you said, if he's found innocent, then yeah. And it's like, Michael Vick served his time, came back. He was, a good citizen and played well. So
why not? All right. I want to swing back to the Eagles for just a second. We talked about all the guys that have left. We have not talked about the fact that we have Barkley, Hurts, Brown, Smith, Mailata, Johnson, Landon, Dickerson, probably all under major contracts on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Zach Bond now along, now the downside to doing what Howie Roseman has done and being so successful in the draft is all these guys are going to come due, these young kids. So Reed Blankenship is going to come due. Jordan Davis comes due. Cam Jurgens comes due.
And
now,
this guy.
Then the next year you got Jalen Carter, you got Nolan Smith, you got Dean. That's the downside about drafting so well is you got a handful of guys who are going to need to get paid when their rookie contracts come up, and you got to find ways to do that without losing your good players. And unless the cap just keeps going up and up and up, good players are going to leave. And they're going to use the Kelly Ringos and those guys that maybe aren't quite as good, but you can't do it because you can't pay them.
Well, that's a Howie problem, Bill. It ain't yours and mine.
Well, Howie's going to have to put on a master class in how to do this. We certainly want him to keep drafting good and keep bringing in young players or the right players. But I think it's a real challenge for a team that has drafted so successfully as they have over the last handful of years.
I heard some people talking on the radio that the Eagles are ready, maybe looking at this coming season as kind of a pause year because they just won the Super Bowl. They know they're not going to be able to sign any big free agents this year. So instead, they're still going to compete, obviously, and try to win. But then they'll really refocus again next year when they have not only this year's draft class, but next year's draft class with a whole lot of new talent coming their way and theoretically a little bit of money to spend on some of the free agents from other teams. So, maybe they'll just say, we'll compete this year, but then we'll really go hard again in 2026.
Never. Never. Don't believe
and they
that
certainly wouldn't admit to that, but
no, that's not going to happen because come 2027 you're going to lose Lane Johnson. There's a good chance of that. I would think they wouldn't sign him to another contract. He'll probably retire as a 2-time Super Bowl champion. You can't leave that window open and hope for the next one. You got to get it. Brown gets a year older. Smith gets a year older. Barkley certainly gets 300 more carries older next year as he did this year. There's no taking a pause in my world.
Is Lane Johnson the longest serving Philadelphia athlete right now if Brandon Graham indeed retires?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
2012-ish, I believe.
Yep. Him and Sean Couturier are right up there together. They're the only two, if BG retires, they're the only two that were playing when Bill and Chet started Philly Press Box Radio.
How about that? And Aaron Nola played his first game in the summer of 2015, so he was a little later.
Right. Hey, Joe threw one up here. Where'd it go? There you go. News of the week. Did the girl whack the other runner in the melon? Did she lose her balance? Did you see that?
I did not see that. I don't know what that's all about.
It was a track meet, I believe, in North Jersey. and the runner, they were going around the turn,
Oh, no.
and the other runner started hitting the girl over the head with the baton.
What?
And concussed her.
How did I miss this big story?
Oh, it's been all over the place. And they then she came on saying that she lost her balance and the people should feel sorry for her and blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, the other girl got concussed by getting beat over the head with a baton. I can't believe you didn't see that. It's been everywhere. You got to check it out. Joe, she didn't lose her balance. She lost her mind. Let's see. PJ, what's he got to say? They can't let up. Yep. Need to go all in, but not a Jerry Jones all in. I will say this, Chet. The Cowboys, they still haven't really done much in free agency, but they did renegotiate that massive Prescott deal. They also renegotiated CD Lamb's deal. They have to pay Micah Parsons, I assume.
I'm not worried about them at all.
Well, I mean, they do have some money now to actually make some moves if they're capable of making them. They may not have the brain trust to do it, but at least they're not tied to the money from Prescott's deal.
Yeah.
Hey, great guest tonight, Glen Macnow. Who we have scheduled to? We have a schedule change to talk about for next week.
Indeed, we do, Bill. Let me see. Do I have the information here? Oh, yeah. Yeah, next week. Well, rumor has it you will be unavailable midweek, both Wednesday and Thursday. I'm not available Wednesday. I'll be traveling back from Florida, by the way. So I'm going to host a special Thursday evening show with a couple of great guests, Bill. One of them is our old pal from the Edge of Philly Sports Network. Remember this guy? Big Al Zafiri. So we'll see what Big Al is up to and talk about the Philly sports scene. And because I will have just gotten back from Clearwater, I will have a taped interview with Chris Wheeler. There he is, Mr. Spring Training Wheels, about his assessment of the 2020-25 Phillies. Bill,
when is that going to be?
That's going to be Thursday evening next week, 7 p.m. Thursday at 7 p.m. Hey, one thing we didn't discuss, which we had a little back and forth about on Facebook recently. You posted about it. It was the big radio topic last week based on an NBC Sports Philly story about Joel Embiid. And is he a basketball Hall of Famer? I knew I was going to be in the minority of this.
Minority? You were by yourself.
There were a couple others in the article who also said he will be a Hall of Famer. But here's the deal, Bill. 7 All-Star Game selections, an MVP award, 2 near-miss MVP awards. He was the runner-up. 2 scoring titles, 5 first or second team All-NBA honors. To me, it's a no-brainer, despite his lack of playoff success and the injuries. He is certainly more deserving than already enshrined guys like Mitch Richmond, Dikembe Mutombo even, and Gail Goodrich. To me,
Gail Goodrich was good.
He was good, but he's not elite. And I think Joel Embiid is elite, despite his injury issues and the lack of playoff success. Joel Embiid will be a Hall of Famer, and I'm going to find you and hunt you down in 7 or 8 years and say, I told you so, Furman.
Chet, you're the same guy that I told 4 or 5 years ago they couldn't win with. And you fought me tooth and nail, and you still haven't said, Bill, you know what? You're right.
Well, some of that is on Embiid. A lot of it is not. Okay. Well, in 7 or 8 years, when he's enshrined in Springfield, Massachusetts, you're going to say,
I'll tell you what, if he gets enshrined in Springfield, Massachusetts, I'll go. I'll come get you
and cheer him on.
And we'll go.
It's a date. We're going.
Yeah. Now, I will say this, not in his defense, but as a comparison, Bill Walton, one of my favorite all-time players.
Yeah.
Had a very difficult injury-filled career with his knees. He also won a championship in his first year.
He won a championship, and Basketball Hall of Fame also includes college, so he won those UCLA titles
right.
too. So
yeah.
So he was a no-brainer too.
Yeah, but Bill's resume quite much different than Joel, Mr. Softy, Embiid.
Yeah, well, what I pointed out is enough to get him in, and deservedly so. So wrap it up, Bill.
Oh, I can't. I got to put this up there.
Oh, boy.
Chet will never say that, Bill.
That's right.
Bob knows. Bob knows.
He's not done yet. He's not done yet. You're a bum, Malloy. Wrap it up, Bill.
All right, there you go. Let's thank tonight.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for all the comments.
Sponsor the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, and PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoy the show. We'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Thursday.
Yeah.
Not March 27th.
Whatever Thursday is, March 20th.
March 20th. I had the wrong date down here because I thought we were skipping a week. You can see us live on Facebook and on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. And listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and let's go Phillies.
And March 26th is our Phillies preview show, Wednesday, March 26th. Okay.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.